Hello, everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. As always, I am your host, Mel Matt, and this week, much like last week, we have another first-time guest on the show.
Hey everyone.
Yep, we got Face Boss, aka Stacy, here tonight from Cage Side Seats.
Yes. How are
How are
you?
you doing? I'm good.
I'm
How about
good.
you?
Good, thank you. I really
All right,
wanted to be on
so
to sort of talk about like the old stuff since we have so much new stuff now to go back in time and to look at what they did is pretty cool.
yeah, I think it will be really fun having you on because I've been trying to get Face Boss on for so long now. It really was just kind of an issue of time zone differences because she's in New Zealand, so it's like for me here it's about 7 p.m. and for her it's about 12 noon over
Yep.
there. So tonight or today, depending on the time zone, we'll go ahead and talk about Royal Rumble 2003. It's the start of a brand new year in WWE. 2002 is now in the books. We are now entering 2003, the second year of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast, Ruthless Aggression Era. And Stacey, were you watching WWE around this time?
No, I believe I started watching in 2007 and upwards.
So was this your first time watching this particular pay per view?
Yep, it was my first time watching the whole pay-per-view, so it was really good to look back and think who these guys were, and I remember some of those guys. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I felt bad that I had to make you watch one match in particular.
Oh yes, that match.
Yeah, and
It was very interesting.
I think most people might know the match that we're talking about here. One of the matches here, particularly a title match, is very infamous here. So it'll be interesting to see what Face Boss thought about that match. So I guess we can go ahead and get things started here. I tend to go ahead and talk about the theme song as well as the stage setup. So the theme song here was "Falling Apart" by Trust Company, and I thought it was an okay song. It's not actually, it might actually be one of the better theme songs so far. I don't know, like it was what it was. It was definitely that 2003 alternative metal, dare I say, kind of feel. What did you think about this theme song?
I liked the theme song because it was like a good opener and it got people pumped up for the pay-per-view. Whereas these days, theme songs are very pop and like they had something rock and a bit more like better fit for the Royal Rumble. So I liked it.
Yeah, I do miss the theme songs back when they were rock. Because I'm a metal guy. So I really like this particular time as well.
Yeah, it was really good. All the theme songs actually, like for the video packages, when they look back at the stories, were really good.
Yeah, I mean, and we see some of that tonight as well. But I mean, ever since around the Attitude Era, or maybe even before, and that's one thing I will give W's production team. Their video team is just top notch. Like to this day, they keep putting out great video packages.
Oh yeah, the video packages you can't fault them. They're really good at telling a story in a short amount of time, but highlighting the really good parts about the story to get you interested in it. So they're always really good at that.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll go ahead and talk about the stage setup now. What do you think about this stage setup? Did you like it, hate it, in between?
In between, it was okay. It was just all right. I think they could have done a little bit more, but yeah, it was just okay for me. How about you?
I'm actually in the same boat with you. I think it's okay. I actually think it's kind of lazy. I think, like in the sense that it's clearly using like the SmackDown stage that they used at that time for like the bottom Titantron.
Oh yeah, definitely. They could have, I don't know, maybe done something different, like on stage to promote Royal Rumble, because if you didn't really know it was the Royal Rumble, there's not much on stage to kind of highlight that. So they could have done something with that.
Yeah, and it did seem like they were also using the Raw is War 2000 era Titantron for the right top Titantron.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, there is one aspect of the stage that I did like, which was the giant Titantron to the left, which also served as like the Royal Rumble timer. I really liked that. I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah, I liked that actually. That was a good cut.
So yeah, I think this stage maybe my least favorite of the show so far. With that said, though, I do play in this arena a lot in WrestleMania 19, the video game. So take that for what it's worth.
Oh yes.
All right, so we'll go ahead and start with the first ever match on this show. It's Brock Lesnar versus Big Show in a Royal Rumble qualifying match.
Yes, it was weird to see Brock as a face and the crowd like really behind him against Big Show. And looking back on Brock, he doesn't look as big, of course, as he does now. So it's weird for me when I look back and saying, "Oh, that's Brock Lesnar."
Yeah, yeah, totally. Brock, he's more or less, he's a bit of a different wrestler now, I think, than he was back then.
Yeah, and Big Show, oh my gosh, like he's so tall. And then you put both of them in the ring, and Brock did a really good job with the belly to belly suplexes on the Big Show, and the crowd really popped for that. So I like those touches to the match. And Paul Heyman did a really good job playing Big Show's manager and getting involved.
Yeah, yeah, I think he did too. I'll be honest about this match. I hated this match. Like, it's not the worst match of the night, but I just found it very boring. Even though it's only like 5, 6 minutes long, for me, it still felt really long, in my opinion. I just felt like it was a bit too repetitive with the suplexes. Had a couple of good spots in it with Heyman and all that, but other than that, I did not care for this match very much.
Yeah, it was kind of just there. I mean, it was just for telling the story of like who gets to be in the Royal Rumble, but they could have done a little bit more. It was just okay.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Like, Big Show did a good job putting Brock over, and I think the story that they were telling here with Brock finally overcoming Big Show and to an extent Paul Heyman and going to the Royal Rumble, I think they did a good storytelling job with that.
Oh yeah, definitely that Brock could overcome Paul Heyman, the manager, and overcome this big monster that was the Big Show. And yeah, so and he became a favorite in the match, and the crowd hopped for the ending. So I suppose it did its job in that way.
Yeah, yeah, it totally did. Like, not the best match in the world. I didn't really care so much for this match, but it did its job. It did its purpose.
Yeah.
So backstage, we go to Terry, who interviews Chris Jericho about entering the Rumble at number 2.
Yes, I really like Chris Jericho. He can play like the heel really well, and yeah, I thought his backstage MTU was fine. What did you think about it?
I thought it was very good. I think it served its purpose very well and sort of hyping Jericho in this Rumble. And yeah, Chris Jericho is awesome, especially around this time. I think 2002 slash 2003 Jericho is, in my opinion, best Jericho.
Yeah, I looking back on Jericho because of course I didn't see this era and to go to now. Like I thought he did a really good job with this, and I liked it.
Yeah, like, I think he just did a great job during this particular time period, like with the long hair with the red tips, the giant goatee, the snazzy, tacky jackets that he would wear. I just think he was just so great during this time period.
Yeah, especially when you've got all these big stars and these big names in this era to stand out like that. I think he did a good job with.
Yeah, so now we move on to Lance Stormer and William Regal versus the Dudley Boys for the World Tag Team Championships. And this was a bit of a last minute match that was added to the card. Dudley Boys ended up getting suspended indefinitely without pay by Eric Bischoff for attacking Chief Morley, but Vince McMahon later reinstated them later on in the night and ended up putting them in a tag team title match with Lance Stormer and William Regal, who a couple weeks prior to this won the titles from Booker T and Goldust. Faceboss, how did you feel about this match?
It was okay. I think Storm was my favorite in this match, Lance Storm, because I like his submission moves, where he's bending Devon's leg and also having like his hand around his head. That move in the match was really good. And Bubba Ray Dudley is a really good person to get the crowd, on their feet and excited. And he's always very entertaining in matches. So he worked for me. But other than that, it was, I don't know, okay. It was an okay tag match.
Yeah, I liked this match fine as well. Like it was a good Raw match. I think you probably could have done this match on Raw, and it probably would have had the same effect. But even so, I still like this match a lot. Like you said, Lance Storm is great in this match. You know, his technical style really showcased very well here. But Ray Dudley was a good hot tag. Chief Morley coming down and interfering.
Oh,
And yeah, I think we need to talk about Chief Morley for just a bit of a second because I don't think we're going to get much of a chance to really talk about him on the podcast because he only appears here. He's in a match at Backlash, I think, but he's only like a special referee type thing. He's in the backstage segment at No Way Out. But this is really one of the first times where he's really imperative to the show. And so Chief Morley, this was such a weird character because it's Val Venus, but he's like reformed and now he's Eric Bischoff's assistant. How'd you feel about that role for him?
A little bit weird, but I suppose I don't. Yeah, it was different and weird, but I suppose it helps, the tag like Storm and Regal a bit, and but yeah, it was different.
Yeah, I think it really benefited Eric Bischoff to have like this kind of sycophant kind of person, by his side, and he would later do the same thing with Coach. Though I think Coach did it a bit better than Chief Morley, but I think Chief Morley it was an interesting character.
Yeah, it was interesting, but I suppose it does help Eric Bischoff with like being in that type, having that type of another character with him. But yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, so the finish of the match comes. William Regal tries to get out his signature brass knuckles, but the Dudley Boys ended up 3Ding Regal. Devon gets the brass knuckles and knocks out Lance Storm for the win. The Dudley Boys are the new tag team champions.
Yeah, the commentators were really confused a little bit on the ending, like not sure who brought in the brass knuckles, who used the brass knuckles. But I thought it was really good seeing like the Dudley Boys get the tag team titles, and they can always, do another match where Storm and Regal call them out for using the brass knuckles. So it was good that they had, still a story to tell with that.
Yeah, I think the story that they were telling with that worked very well.
Yeah, it was really good. Good ending.
Yeah, so next up, we get a Nathan Jones vignette.
What did you think of it?
Um, I haven't really seen much of Nathan Jones in WWE but also he didn't really last that long in WWE anyway, because he was there for like a year or so, and even then he wasn't really on WTV too much. He was really on there. He was really only on a couple of pay-per-views. He made an appearance at WrestleMania 19. I believe he was on Brock Lesnar's team at Survivor Series later on this year in 2003. But other than that, he didn't make a lot of appearances. But as far as Nathan Jones goes, I feel he had a lot of potential. I think he had the look. I think he had the size. The fact that he was from Australia, I think, really made him unique. But for he just didn't like to travel. I don't think he was really made to be a wrestler. But I do think that he had still had like a lot of potential.
Oh, I agree. He had the look that they were going for, and I think they could have done, yeah, something with him. But yeah, maybe it was just the WWE schedule not working, or I don't know. Maybe they were looking for something more in terms of like entertainment wise, like yeah, for like the crowd connecting that. But I thought it was fine video package for him.
Yeah, I think those video packages were very well done.
Yeah.
So next up, man, I cannot wait for this match to be over. I cannot wait for this feud to be over. So I no longer have to talk about this. Torrie Wilson versus Dawn Marie in the first ever and hopefully the last stepmother versus stepdaughter match.
Oh my gosh. It was so weird because, of course, me being new, I go and going, oh, Dawn versus Torrie, and then they played the video package of what their story is, and it's just so, how to explain it, it's just so weird, but at the same time, you'd think this kind of story would be like one of their main feature matches because it has that personal element to it, but at the same time, it's just so kind of weird as well that I don't know, like a stepdaughter versus like stepmother match. Like I don't know who came up with that story in the back, but it was just yeah, really weird.
Yeah, honestly, I'll just go right out and say it. I think this whole Torrie Wilson, Dawn Marie storylines is one of the worst things they have ever done.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially when they did that funeral scene, the story scene where like she goes to the funeral home and they have a fight. That is just like, was that really needed? Like, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, it's definitely I would say in the category of one of the worst storylines that WWE has done.
Yeah, the funeral angle wasn't needed, but I'd also argue that this entire storyline
Wasn't
wasn't
needed.
needed. Yeah, it's an awful storyline. It's like this weird mixture of like soap opera mixed in with like an erotic thriller all of a sudden. And the thing that I go back to is like that movie with Madonna, Body of Evidence. Like the premise of that. That's what this reminded me of for some reason.
Oh yeah, this came from the mind of like Vince and maybe someone else, one of the creative people backstage, where they thought, oh, this will be really good for the woman, or oh, this will be really interesting. It's like, no, it's really not.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say that Paul Heyman was the lead writer of SmackDown around this time. I could be wrong, but I think he was like a creative force of SmackDown around this time.
Oh, really? Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe Dawn was okay in this match in the sense of she was really good playing her role as a heel when she got that like veil over her face when she comes out. I thought there was a pretty good touch there. But Tori was just, I don't know, okay. But yeah, the commentator, it was a really short match, I should say, by the way. Really short. But I suppose that's also good because, it was a bad kind of story and then you have a short match. So I suppose that worked.
Yeah, I mean there's not much to this match. They had a match at No Mercy a few months back, and I think maybe this might be a bit better because as bad as the storyline is, it at least has stakes, I guess, as opposed to No Mercy, where the storyline was really just starting. Here, there's a bit more meat to kind of sink the teeth in, you know?
Yeah, this was an okay kind of story, I suppose. Wanting, yeah, Torrie getting a win and having the bad guy lose was fine. And the commentary on this match was all right, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. There wasn't much to say in this match. Maybe some of the close lines by Dawn to Torrie were fine, but I couldn't really remember. I couldn't tell you like a really good move in this match to really highlight other than maybe the close ones.
Yeah, I think Dawn Marie showed some good agility when she did that like turnbuckle move to Tori.
Yeah, she was actually, yeah, she's pretty good. Like, do you think, past this pay per view, does she improve, or what stories does she do next? I wonder, because I think she can be quite a good wrestler because she does have potential, but it's when you put them in stories like this that bring them down, I think.
Um, I think she gets I think she stays about the same because she does have a couple more storylines after this. I think she actually does fight Torrie Wilson one more time, like later, like the next year after this. Luckily, the storyline isn't that bad, but and I think she also had I think she also had a feud with Miss Jackie and Charlie Haas a year or so after this. So we do get to see her a couple more times on WWE.
Oh yeah, okay. What about Torrie? Because Torrie was all right in this match, but I wouldn't say this was her best match if I had to go back and think of one of her matches.
Yeah, she pretty much stays the same as this as well. I don't know. Like Tori was never really much of a wrestler. I don't think she was more so. I guess kind of a personality. I guess is the right word for it. At least when she was on SmackDown. I think she was a decent enough wrestler, and I do think that she actually did want to be women's champion, but it never worked out for her.
Oh, I see. Well, I suppose around this era there was the Litas, like Lita and Trish Stratus and all that. Was it around
Mm-hmm.
this time? So I suppose,
Yeah, it was around this time.
so I suppose when you have those sort of names and then maybe those sort of stories, it's maybe hard to, move on. Could be from a story like this.
Yeah, this was like the Divas era, and like the show that Tori was on SmackDown, they didn't have any kind of women's division. They didn't have a women's title, so there wasn't much for her to do at this point in time.
It makes it like really good to think back to like when I watched this and then to think of what the women do now. And it's just
Oh
like,
yeah,
thank God there's like this massive, massive change. Like that's how far we've really come is from that story to now. So at least there's that.
yeah. For I am a constant critic of some of the women's storylines nowadays. Push Becky Lynch cough.
Push Becky. What's that?
But yeah, it
Because
is.
I'd imagine doing this storyline in this day and age, they wouldn't be able to get away with it. Maybe back then it was looked upon as being okay, but there's no way I would imagine they'd do this now and fans would, like it.
Yeah, there's no way this would ever fly today, and like for say what you will about the women now and some of the storylines that they're involved in. I'm just thankful that they're not involved in storylines like this anymore.
100% agree.
Yeah, and Dawn Marie was actually a pretty good valet in the original ECW. She was a valet for Lance Storm and Just Incredibles tag team that they had going, the Impact Players, and she later became the valet for Simon Diamond and Johnny Swinger near the end of ECW.
Oh yes.
So, final thoughts on the match?
Torrie won. The match was short. the story was weird. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, thank God the match was quick. I wasn't crazy for this match, but I suppose it could have been worse.
Yeah, it could have been worse, I suppose. Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, so backstage, Stephanie McMahon interrupts Randy Orton and Eric Bischoff and says goodbye to Bischoff, who says that he has an atomic bombshell announcement, and Stephanie says the same thing.
Mm. Yeah, that was interesting because I haven't of course, heard much of Eric Bischoff because I wasn't watching around this time, but I've heard that, of course, he was a good heel sort of manager, and seeing him interact with Stephanie was interesting.
Yeah, because the reason that Stephanie sort of says goodbye to Eric Bischoff is that Eric Bischoff has about 30 days to make Raw a great show or he's fired. So Eric Bischoff does have an announcement as well as Stephanie. And do you know what these announcements were?
No, was it something to do with the brands fighting or something like that together?
Well, Eric Bischoff's announcement was that he invited Stone Cold Steve Austin to No Way Out because Stone Cold Steve Austin had walked out in the company months prior. So that was Stone Cold Steve Austin's reintroduction to the company after he walked out.
Oh, I see. What did you think of that?
I thought it was great because I am a huge Stone Cold fan, so I really enjoyed it. And it actually does end up Stone Cold versus Eric Bischoff at No Way Out, and Eric Bischoff gets his ass kicked. So that was really fun.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Stone Cold too. And was this the story of him actually walking out on the company because he wasn't happy with real life things and stuff? So was played into it?
Yeah, Stone Cold had walked out on WWE because he was very unhappy with Creator for a long time because he wasn't really in the main event all that much, despite him still being very over. Like he was very over. Dare I say, like one of the most over guys they had aside from Hulk Hogan. So he was very unhappy with that, and I think really like the straw that broke the camel's back was when they wanted him to lose a match to Brock Lesnar. It was a King of the Ring qualifying match on Raw. And Stone Cold didn't have a problem losing to Brock, but he didn't want to lose to him on just a random Raw. He wanted to kind of build up this storyline and lose to him at like a major pay per view.
Yeah, I could see his thinking there because you kind of still want to save your character and protect who you are as in your brand. But if he has if I want to lose, that's fine. But I'm just not going to do it on a random Raw. So I do understand why he would have that issue. So yeah, and I suppose him coming back was really good because, as you said, there's a lot of Stone Cold fans, and it brings eyes back to what is happening. And of course, the Eric Bischoff thing. I guess it's good because you don't really see much managers getting, a beatdown these days. They're sort of like protected in a way. So back then, to see that happen would have been quite good.
Yeah, because Stone Cold comeback was very good for the company. In fact, No Way Out was actually the return of a lot of big stars for the company, including The Rock and Hulk Hogan, and even kind of Undertaker. Even though he does return here, like his more or less full time return was really a No Way Out.
Oh yes.
And as far as Stephanie McMahon's announcement was, it was the return of Hulk Hogan, and that starts a storyline with him and Vince. So the Royal Rumble, they're starting to build some traction towards WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I like how they were building stories like outside of the Rumble, so they were building two stories as well as what was happening in the Rumble as well, which is good because you always see like one story nowadays being built in the Rumble and then that's it. But to have like the managers announce different things is really good too because you're also talking about that.
Yeah, I think that's great as well. So next up, we get a Sean O'Haire vignette. on telling people to skip going to church.
What did you think of it?
I really, really liked Sean O'Hare's like devil's advocate gimmick that he had going on around here. It's a shame that they never really did anything with it. But I think the vignettes that he did for this gimmick, I just think were absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I thought they were pretty good. Like, it was different, but I thought they worked and stuff.
And so we didn't have much to say about the last match, but we're going to have a lot to say about this match. Scott Steiner versus Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes, it was an interesting match. I liked the video package and the story they played of why Triple H doesn't like Steiner because, Steiner's all about strength and stuff, and Triple H thinks, yes, he has to compete against this because he thinks he's the best. And then you have like Ric Flair as the manager, and I love Ric Flair, and I think he's a great manager.
Yeah, I think he added a lot to Triple H's heel character around this time.
Yeah, he is really, really good at doing like the little things that make you laugh sometimes. I thought he was really good in this match. And I thought Triple H is very good, of course, at playing the heel things. He does these little sort of things, whether it's his walk to the ring or it's chewing the gum and like smirking down at Steiner. He always does this little things that work for him.
Yeah, like this storyline was so weird.
Yeah, it was a little bit like, so the thing was, Steiner's thing was like, you say that you've beat everyone, but you haven't beaten me. And then Triple H, I guess, was like, let's go through all these different tests to see how strong both of us are. It was like, I don't know, it was kind of like odd a little bit.
Yeah, because this was Scott Steiner's like first feud in WWE. Really, this match was his first match back. He was in WWE for a very brief time in the early to mid '90s when he was teaming with Rick Steiner as part of the Steiner Brothers. They won the tag titles in WWF. He then went back to WCW and he became Big Papa Pump. And so he was one of the major WCW guys who ended up not going to WWF during the invasion. So finally, he's coming here, and his first feud, his first match, is against Triple H for the world title, which they're really putting him in such a spot here because this is his first feud, and it's first feud back here in WWE, and it's for the world title.
I agree. They're kind of throwing him the sharks in a way because putting him right into a world title shot, and then you have Triple H there. I mean, that's a big, big thing to do as someone who hasn't had that big feud beforehand to kind of base on what works and what doesn't. So he's sort of like, this is like his first thing, his first role to get acquired to Triple H. So yeah, it would be nerve wracking, like having to go into a feud with Triple H, who of course is a big name, I would guess, around this time.
Yeah, I can understand why they did it because Scott Steiner was a big WCW name, like near the end of WCW, because he was like the top heel in WCW. He was one of the final world champions there before the company went out of business. Like on the last Nitro, he actually did lose the title to Booker T. So he was one of the last champions. He was the top heel in that company. So I can see why they would put him in such a role, but I don't know if it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I could see from that then why they would try to put him in a big feud like this. But I don't know. Who knows? Was he good coming out of this like match? Like, did he go on to like still do good things?
This match is very infamous for being very bad, and a lot of the fault went to Steiner. Steiner was completely gassed very fast into this match, and he and Triple H actually did have one more title match at No Way Out, which was a bit better, but it still wasn't great. Like Steiner got booed in that match. After that, he went to form a tag team with Test, and he ended up feuding with Test for a bit. And then after that feud, he ended up getting injured, and they ended up releasing him. So he didn't have the greatest run in WWE.
Oh, because when I look at this match, I just think of like, yeah, the match was okay, but I thought like the story behind it worked, like with Ric Flair getting involved, and the referee I thought was like the best part of the match because I thought he was really funny on standing up to both guys and not having any crap. Because like these days the referees are like they don't have much, of course, to do with the match, or their book is being really stupid of not seeing things to have a referee who was also kind of a centre part in this match really worked for me.
Yeah, that's one thing I will give this match. And even though this match for me is very, very bad, I will give it this. I do agree with Face Boss. The storytelling that they were telling in this match was very good. I think what they were trying to do, I think, worked well enough. Sort of the story that Triple H is not better than Scott Steiner. Pretty much has to do everything he possibly can to try and leave Royal Rumble still a champion. He tries to get counted out. He tries to get DQ'd. He's trying all these things, and he ends up not being able to do it. This match, what a match it was. Steiner gets gassed immediately. Like at one point, there's like a double. He tries to do like a double underhook suplex and completely falls down in midair.
Yes, I saw that part. I was wondering if there was like a miscommunication by both guys, or one was just really tired and couldn't get him up to do that move.
Yeah, because Steiner was very tired. Like he was like, even though he does look great, like he has a great physique, he was sort of like out of ring shape, if that makes sense. And I believe he was also working this match with a broken foot as well. So I think his movement might have been as well because of that injury.
Oh yeah, because if you would look at Steiner, because I've never seen Steiner before, and to see him in the match, you'd think he would. I don't know that he's just a really strong guy who would do all these power sort of moves, but his move set is okay. Like in this match, like maybe he does a few suplexes or maybe like the Boston Crabs, but other than that, it's not. It's a very limited range for him.
Yeah, and he gets gassed like very quickly. And it'd be one thing if he were taking the moves, but he's on offense like 90% of this match, which is very weird.
Yeah, and when you're in a world heavyweight title match with Triple H in that big spot to get gassed and tied early on, like that can't be good.
Yeah, and Triple H really does make Steiner look like $1,000,000. Like the way he bleeds for him is rather interesting because he somehow, like in kayfabe, he somehow gets opened up by the leather strap of the belt.
Yeah, like he sounds really good, especially at the end. I thought when a DQ was rung because of the sledgehammer, and then Steiner has him in that submission lock, and like Triple H is bleeding. I thought that was a really good picture to end it on, where everyone's trying to get him off of Triple H, and then Triple H is bleeding. Like that's a really good picture to sell on what could happen in the next story with them too.
And man, do they tease that storyline, that next storyline. If there's ever a rematch, I know who my money's going to be on. There's no way out for Triple H.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like one thing, like the finish was kind of weird to me because Triple H is trying his best to get DQ'd. Like at one point, he does end up like shoving Earl Hebner out of the ring. When Earl Hebner's like, I know what you're trying to do. You're not getting disqualified. And Triple H hits Stein with a sledgehammer. He disqualifies him.
Yeah, like you'd think on the push out of the ring, he would say something, and then he eventually gets a sledgehammer and does something, and then the bell rings. Like I don't know, but I like the referee in this match, so That was the best part.
Yeah, and I do agree with you in that Steiner having Triple H in a Steiner recliner while Triple H, like, just blood just flowing down his face. I thought that was a great visual with all the agents and referees, and even Eric Bischoff at one point tries to get Scott Steiner off of Triple H. I just thought that was a great visual.
Yeah, that was really good. And then Steiner holds up the title, and Eric looks really scared and stuff of what's happening, and looks down at Triple H who's still bleeding. I think that paints the picture of Steiner could have won the title if it wasn't for what Triple H did. So maybe in their next match, there could be, like, I don't know if you like Ric Flair is banned from ringside, or it's a no DQ match. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, the match in No Way Out was just a regular match.
Oh, really? I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, same here. I thought they would have made some kind of stipulation for that.
Especially after that sort of ending, you'd think there'd be like more blood, more heat for this feud to go and do something like that. So I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, but overall, this match, I didn't think this match was very good, but I did like the story that they were telling here, and I think the post match angle that they did was pretty good.
I agree with you. The story was good and what they did afterwards, but the match was just okay.
All right, so it's time for the WWE Championship match. It's Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. And now the storyline to here is that Brock Lesnar is actually kind of trying to be kept away from the WWE title by Paul Heyman. Kurt Angle ends up having Paul Heyman as his agent now, and now has an entire stable. Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin forming Team Angle. And Chris Benoit becomes number one contender, and so now it's Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle. There's so many layers to the storyline. What do you think about Kurt Angle getting his own stable?
I thought it was a really good idea to have the Olympic stable of Kurt Angle, because I think that works because he was such a heel and wanting to be a coward and run, but to have two guys that'll do your dirty work and then you to come in and attack later. I think it worked for him. And I liked in the video package where Kurt was having Benoit's ankle in the lock, and the team made him tap out even though Benoit was passed out. That was a really good heel move there. That made me want to see. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
It was a good heel kind of move that made you want to see the face win and overcome what Kurt and his team are also doing. So that's like two layers to that feud.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's such a heel move, and I absolutely love the fact that they gave Kurt Angle like this stable, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas, who do go on to be a pretty successful tag team. And even Shelton Benjamin, who is in the company now.
Yeah, I was like looking back at them too, and I was like, oh, Shelton Benjamin, like I know him from like what's he doing now, and I thought they worked really well together with Angle.
Yeah, and I love Shelton Benjamin. I think that guy is so underrated. I think they could be doing a lot more with him on WTV now than they are.
I agree. He's very talented. And I would like to see him do more. Like, of course, they've got him today. They could use him a lot more than they're using him now.
Yeah, I'd love to see him feud with Jeff Hardy for the United States title.
Yes, and that would help elevate the US title now to what it is, to have those two guys feud. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see him fight Styles for the WWE title. Honestly, now that I think about it.
Oh, yeah, they've got a lot of guys that they could use. Like Shelton, I think, has got really good athleticism. He's really good with his high-flying moves, and I think he could be a really good, solid heel and face in that mid-card scene.
Yeah, for sure. And Paul Heyman's role in this particular storyline is so interesting because Kurt Angle beats Big Show for the title at Armageddon, and Paul Heyman at the time was Big Show's agent. And then Kurt Angle says a week before Armageddon, he hired Paul Heyman to be his agent. So Paul Heyman at Armageddon was in charge of both Kurt Angle and Big Show at the same time. And like he says that the reason, Paul Heyman says that the reason is that, you know, no matter who wins, I'm going to be in charge of the champion. And I think that it's such a great, like, really slimy heel move by Heyman.
Yeah, that's really good to have like two guys and to be like, well, whatever one loses, there's going to be at least one winner there. So I think that's a good part on him.
So the match goes ahead and starts, and Team Angle immediately gets ejected from ringside.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were going to stay around or not, or what they would do in the match, but I was kind of glad that they did get ejected from ringside just so I could see what those two could do in the ring.
Yeah, and this is a great match. Like, Benoit almost immediately tries to make Angle tap out.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, of course, I've never seen these two guys have a match before until you told me about this pay-per-view. So to see how these two would go in the ring, I thought was really good, and they had such a good match.
Yeah. These two have had such great matches, you know, over the years. Like, they fought at WrestleMania one year. They had an Ultimate Submission match. A couple months after that WrestleMania match, they had one at Unforgiven several months prior to this match. So they've had quite the rivalry, you know, at this point in time.
Yeah, and the commentators did a really good job in this match on selling on what each guy's strengths were and what their weaknesses were and how they could feel each other out at the start of the match. So I thought that was a good job what commentary did in this match.
Yeah, because even though there is a good storyline to this match, they didn't really need to do much because the history of them does kind of speak for themselves, not only from their rivalry in 2001, but even what they were doing prior to this, because they were the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And so they have our history just based on that. And so I think it was a really good way to kind of show that these two are almost equals in a way.
Yeah, because both of them, were equals in the match because they've had that sort of history together. So the match really worked because of that. And moves like when Kurt had Chris in the sleeper hold, and afterwards him still selling how tired and the exhaustion was from that sleeper hold when Kurt was targeting his legs and arms. I thought that was a really good touch because you just don't see that a lot now.
Yeah, the psychology in this match is just great.
And there were some really good moves, like the counters I thought were really good into like cross faces by Chris and then into the ankle lock by Kurt. They did a really good job of that.
Yeah, Benoit, I think, even locks on the ankle lock at one point.
Yeah, and the crowd went nuts for it. And Kurt had some really good German suplexes as well. So
yeah, like those spots were really great. And so the finish of the match comes.
Oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
Go on. Oh, go on.
I was going to say that the flying headbutt from Chris from the top rope to Kurt had me like really wincing for him because I'm thinking how much that would have hurt his head because when I watched that replay back, he landed like face first onto Kurt's shoulder. That would have really hurt there.
Yeah, that's sort of like, it's almost like a signature move of Angle because he has done that before. I remember him doing that a WrestleMania where he faced Cain. Cain went up to the top turnbuckle and Angle immediately gets up and hits a belly off the turnbuckle.
Yeah, because he has to fly really far to get to Kurt, who's on the other side of the ring, and then connect. So he's really good at doing that move.
Yeah, like Benoit even hits like a flying headbutt, and like Angle is across the ring, and Benoit just flies there. As much as I hate the flying headbutt move, it was really insane to see Benoit just kind of fly across the ring like that.
I agree, because you can easily, like, if you go too far or maybe like not enough, you could easily miss. But he did a really good job on connecting, and it looks really awesome on the replay as well.
And so the finish of this match was just insane. Like Kurt Angle has his ankle locked in so tight. Like Benoit does escape a few times, but Angle just constantly locks it in, and Benoit ends up finally tapping out. So Kurt Angle retains the WWE title, and after the match, Chris Benoit actually does get a standing ovation. So, Face Boss, what did you think of this match?
I really like this match, and to see firsthand like these two guys go at it. They had really good chemistry in the ring, and the counters that they were doing and holding your breath thinking maybe this guy's going to finally get the free count, and then the crowd reacting to the match was awesome. And I really like the ending because you also feel like maybe Chris can maybe get another chance because he was just so good in that match.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with that too, because it does seem like they are starting to build towards Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. But even watching this match, you do get the feeling that maybe Benoit might actually pull it off. So I think they did a great job in like sort of creating some suspense in this match.
Yeah, really good job on both guys here, and they just worked really well together. And yeah, the match was really good. I think it was, for me, the best match on the card.
Yeah, I think it might be that as well. Just a really great match. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, good job.
So the next backstage segment, Cain and Rob Van Dam backstage, and both of them say that they're going to do whatever it takes to win the Royal Rumble. And in recent weeks, Rob Van Dam and Cain have formed a bit of an unlikely tag team.
Yes, because they don't seem like the typical tag team, both of them, because both of them are just so different in their styles and, of course, who they are as characters. But at the same time, it kind of works as well.
Yeah, and that tag team was pretty good. It was a weird kind of tag team at first because it was kind of weird to see Cain in a tag team and even RVD as well. But I think the style was meshed together really well.
Yeah, because you have Rob Van Dam being the high flyer, and then you've got Cain doing the big power move. So both of them worked well together.
So the next match up, it is time for the main event. It's the Royal Rumble match.
Yes, how do you like Royal Rumbles? Are you a fan of them?
I think they can be pretty fun at times. At times they can be a bit repetitive, but I think it depends on the way that the match is structured. And I think for the most part, they can be pretty fun.
Yeah, that's the same as me. As long as, because sometimes there could be like a period of like nothing happening, you're just waiting on the next big guy. But yeah, Rumbles for me can be really fun because you have people that never wrestled before they get to be in the match, and then you have all these fun spots happening and different stories being told, so it can work.
Yeah, especially during this time, during the first brand split, where you get to see Raw and SmackDown superstars kind of interacting.
Yeah, I noticed that there was a SmackDown referee and a Raw referee around the ring, so that was quite interesting.
So HBK, Shawn Michaels enters at number 1, and number 2 is Chris Jericho. But instead of Chris Jericho, it's Christian dressed as Jericho at the stage, and Jericho comes in from behind and hits a low blow on Shawn Michaels.
That got me there. I was like looking at Y2J, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, oh, it's Christian. I'm like, it was pretty good because it did have me.
And this is really the start of an angle between the two because Shawn Michaels ended up super kicking Jericho after Jericho insulted him the night after Armageddon, which was the night after Shawn Michaels lost the world title to Triple H. And so Shawn Michaels basically says, like, you know what, Jericho, if you want to be the best, you got to do like I did. You got to enter in number 1. You got to win the whole match. And you got to main event WrestleMania and win the world title. And Jericho does try and do that, but he learns that Shawn Michaels has entered at number 1. So Jericho decides to go at number 2 just to face off against Michaels.
Yeah, it was really good because you have these two, and there was a big reaction for HBK. I think he was like a really big favorite. He must have been around this time because he got a pretty good reaction from the crowd. And then you have Chris, of course, and then Christian, and then Chris coming out and attacking him and eliminating from Sean from the ring, so he can't be in the Royal Rumble. And I like how they told that story in the ring because you hope that HBK will be back. And then Jim Ross was really good at selling that reaction.
Yeah, Jericho ends up bloodying Michaels with a steel chair and ends up eliminating him as Chris Nowinski enters at number 3.
Yeah, is this like a known guy? Because I had no idea who he was.
He was the first ever Harvard grad in WWE. He was one of the finalists of the first ever Tough Enough.
Oh, I see. Because they mentioned Harvard a lot, but I wasn't sure like if he was like a known wrestler around this time or he was brand new. So that was interesting.
Yeah, he was relatively new. He had debuted the year before.
Yeah, and he was a heel in this, but was he a hometown guy in this match?
I'm trying. He might have been. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where Harvard is, to be honest with you.
Because I thought I heard that, but then I was thinking, well, he's kind of playing that heel role because he's letting Jericho do his thing in the ring, and the crowd wasn't like 100% like a reaction, so I wasn't sure like if he was from the hometown or not.
Yeah, he was born in Oak Park, Illinois, but he says that his residence is actually Boston, Massachusetts. So he might have actually been from there. And
I
Harvard
see.
and Harvard is in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So yeah, he might have actually been from Boston.
I see. Yeah, he was okay. Yeah, in the ring and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like he was never like a main event guy. He was never like a top guy, but he was always featured on Raw. He was always kind of like a lower card guy, and he was pretty decent for the time.
Yeah, he was good at he does this thing where the Miz did in the recent Royal Rumbles where he just stays out of the ring and just watches what happens, and I think that's a really smart move.
Yeah, I thought that was great. And entering at number 4 and 5, it's Rey Mysterio and Edge, respectively.
Yeah, I loved Ray here, and he's really good at using the ropes to his advantage to like getting the drop kicks and the springboards in. He's really a good hot fire type of guy, and Edge with his spears just spearing everyone in the ring.
Yeah, number 6 is Christian, and Edge and Christian briefly reunite, but Edge ends up spearing Christian.
What did you think of Christian's theme music, by the way? I couldn't help but laugh when I first heard it.
Honestly, I love Christian's theme music at this time. I
It
think
was
it's
so weird, but I
it's so
couldn't help but
great.
laugh
Yeah, it's so weird, but it's so great.
because it's just like the song, sort of, but it doesn't sound, of course, anything like any other guy's music because around this time they're all kind of rock, kind of heavy metal music, and then Christian comes out with his. So
Yeah, it's like this foreign opera kind of music.
I loved it.
Yeah, it really made him stand out, I think.
And I like how he tried to team up with Edge, but Edge wasn't having any of it.
Yeah, I do like that continuity because Christian betrayed Edge at this point in time, so of course Edge is not going to get along with him.
Yeah, I like how they did this in this Rumble where they were telling stories from the past. It wasn't just like, oh, I guess I could team up with you even though you backstabbed me during this time. Like they kept up the stories with that.
Yeah. So Edge and Mysterio end up splashing Christopher Nowinski, and honestly, they actually gave him a career-ending concussion in this match.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, because he was holding his face And I was thinking, oh, like, I'm not sure. Like, I hope he's okay because looked like it really hurt.
Yeah, you could tell that something was wrong here.
So he did have a really bad concussion.
Yeah, he had a really bad concussion here, and he did end up continuing to wrestle for a few months after this, but he ended up having to retire later in the year because of this concussion that he suffered in this particular match.
Oh, because yeah, it looked like I don't know, was it him like maybe not taking the move correctly, or was it just a thing of like that's how like the move from both guys just ended up hitting him on the head a little bit too hard? I wonder.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was honestly just kind of an accident, honestly.
Yeah, I mean it looked good, but it looked really painful.
Yeah, it had to have been. I mean, and this was at the time where concussions, weren't really as prevalent as they are now, or they're not really as well known as they are now. And Nowinski's actually one of like the figureheads of concussions because after he retired, he started, he really did start kind of like researching concussions and making all kinds of strides in there, and letting people know that concussions that are very serious business. So he's done a lot, to inform people about concussions. So he's really doing such great work with his let me see here. He has like this. He's the co-founder and executive director of Concussion Legacy. So he's the front man of that foundation.
Oh wow. Oh yes. That's cool. Because I imagine like concussions back then, like maybe there wasn't like didn't know the symptoms, or maybe as well like the research, maybe there wasn't enough research done on it. So to have like that happen to him and then to try to get information out there, I think that's really good of him.
Oh yeah, totally. So number 7 is one half of the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, Chavo Guerrero, who goes to the bottom rope to enter the ring.
Yeah, I like Chavo. What did you think of Chavo around this time?
I was always kind of indifferent to him, to be honest with you, because I was always more of an Eddie Guerrero fan. But looking back here, I thought Chavo was honestly pretty good. Dare I say, a bit underappreciated. I really wish that I had known what a great wrestler he was when I was watching growing up, because he is really good.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good for what he has to, of course, do, and he's good at being that heel and getting like whoever he needs to over. And yeah, so I liked him in this match because he did a really good job, I thought.
Yeah, so Nowinski and Mysterio end up getting eliminated. And number 8 is Tajiri. And here comes one of the worst commentary lines of the night, where Jerry Lawler ends up confusing Tajiri and Funaki in such a racist moment.
Oh my gosh, yes. I heard that and I was remember I'm like, what happened there? Because the other commentator sort of like said, no, this is Jerry, and he's like, oh, like it was really bad.
Yeah, I don't know, like it's so awful, and he even doubles down on it later on, and he makes a remark like, "Are you sure that's Tajiri?" Like, oh my god, just good
This
God,
was Lawler,
Kane.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was yeah, I don't yeah, just like it's best to leave it after you make a mistake like that instead of like adding more to it.
yeah. So number 9 is Bill Demott, who was a trainer on Tough Enough and was inexplicably getting a bit of a push on SmackDown at this point in time.
Yeah, I liked how Jim Ross described him though as a disturbing, most powerful man in WWE. I believe that's how Jim Ross described him. And yeah, he was quite a big guy in there. And yeah, I know him as the trainer and a little bit on Tough Enough, but see, I haven't seen him wrestle before.
And number 10 is Tommy Dreamer, and he and Edge end up eliminating Bill DeMott, and Jericho eliminates Dreamer. I do like how Tommy Dreamer brought weapons into the ring, really taking advantage of that no disqualification rule in the Royal Rumble match.
Yes, I love that too. Harry brought those trash cans and the kendo sticks, I believe, to the ring. That was really good. And the crowd was chanting ECW. So that was pretty cool.
And number 11 is B Squared, aka Bull Buchanan, John Cena's former hype man, and he immediately gets eliminated.
All I have in my notes for number 11 is that is a really weird name. But he is a former running buddy of Cena, I believe one of the commentators tried to say. But B
Yeah,
Squared is just such a weird name, eh?
yeah, he's Bull Buchanan, Bling Bling Buchanan.
Ah, it's just like I wonder who thought of that name and was just like, just go with that name.
Yeah, I'm not sure who, but B Squared, he was John Cena's like, I guess like tag team partner, like his hype man. You know, John Cena would always come to the ring rapping, you know, doing like cool rhymes, and B Squared the end that he would always go booyah, and that was it.
That's his one line and he got it right.
Yeah. So and naturally this on the SmackDown previous to Royal Rumble, just a few days before, John Cena ends up betraying him and ends up gaining a new ally in Red Dog, who would end up becoming Rodney Mack.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, B Squared doesn't last long in this match, and Jericho ends up eliminating Edge and Christian at the same time. And man, did you see like the welt on Jericho's forehead from those kendo sticks?
Yes, so it was really weird because Tommy was hitting everyone with the kendo stick and he hit Y2J on the shoulder and it looked like he was saying something to Tommy, but I can't be too sure. And then all of a sudden, like Tommy hit him on the head because when I was watching everyone else, I don't believe he hit anyone else on the head. And then when he came up and there's this like big welt, it looked really bad and nasty, but he continued the rest of the match.
Yeah, yeah, Jericho is like so good in this match because he is in it for most of the match and he's really good in it. Like almost constantly almost getting eliminated, but always saving himself at the absolute last minute.
Yeah, it can't have been easy because you've got blood like rolling probably down your forehead into your eyes, and then you've still got to like make sure you eliminate the people that you're supposed to, and then keep going. Like he did a really good job.
And number 12 is Rob Van Dam, who brawls with Jericho. And number 13 is Matt Hardy. And the Matt fact here is that he strongly dislikes mustard.
I thought it was a really weird fact to put on his like because I like the video player type of entrance thing he got because it is different and it stands out. But that's just like that's the fact that you put next to it is because he hates mustard. Okay.
Yeah, I really like the Mattitude gimmick he had going on at this point in time. You know, so like this, I guess like current World Wide Web kind of gimmick, you know. But I think it really works here. We last saw Matt Hardy on the podcast at Survivor Series 2002, and he was only just starting out with that gimmick. Now it's made several strides. He calls his fans Mattitude followers or MFers for short.
Yeah, and he has Shannon Moore, I think, with him, and he was the protege sort of in this match, and he would take the moves for Matt or try to protect Matt, and I think that's a really good like addition to Matt and what his gimmick and character was.
Yeah, totally. Because Shannon Moore and Matt Hardy are lifelong best friends, you know, in like North Carolina or wherever they're from. And Shannon Moore was also in WCW near the end. He was part of Three Count along with Hurricane and Evan Kara, whoever. So Shannon Moore was wrestling for a while. And one thing I did notice during this time, he honestly felt to Matt Hardy what Sunil Singh is to Jinder Mahal now. Like someone who just takes a lot of bumps for whoever they're managing.
Yeah, I see that connection because you don't see a lot of big heels like that having like proteges because Miz did have Damien Sandow, and then you have like Jinder Mahal with this guy protecting the moves, and I do think it adds to the character, so it works.
And I also strongly dislike mustard. So yeah. So number 14 is Eddie Guerrero, who immediately goes after Rob Van Dam. And again, just some great continuity here because when Eddie Guerrero first came back to WWE in 2002, his first feud was with Rob Van Dam for the Intercontinental title.
Oh, that's really good then that they could that Eddie goes right after him. Yeah, and I liked his frog splash to RVD.
Yeah, and Eddie Guerrero is actually sporting a new look here. He got rid of the mullet, which kind of makes me sad.
Yeah, I kind of like the mullet as well on Eddie because it did make him sort of stand out from the crowd, and it worked. So yeah,
Yeah, and so number 15 is Jeff Hardy, who goes after Matt Hardy.
I loved this because I'm a big fan of Jeff Hardy and both Matt Hardy. So to see them in the ring together and like fighting each other was awesome.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Matt and Jeff as well, so I really like this moment as well.
Yeah, I've liked them as a tag team, and of course later down the line when they had that brother versus brother feud, they work really well together.
Yeah, totally. So number 16 is Rosie of 3 Minute Warning. Number 17 is Test. Number 18 is John Cena, who raps to the ring and gets thrown into the ring by Rob Van Dam.
John Cena. I mean, his rap was a little bit rushed. It's just like the music was going really fast, and he was trying to keep up with it. But I will say, this annoying type of Cena character works. I think it really worked here because it makes you want to see him get punched up in the mouth. So it worked.
Yeah, because he ended up doing a rap much like this at Armageddon, and he was a lot better here than he was there. I think his rhymes were a bit better. You know, I'm going to win this. I'm going to make my impression. Show Vinnie Mac that I got ruthless aggression.
That was pretty good, Middle Man.
Thanks.
Heck yeah, I
And
like how he raps though to the ring because it does make him stand out, and he does, of course, write his own raps, I believe.
yeah, I think so. He even has an entire CD out.
Oh my gosh, have you listened to it,
And
Middle
yes,
Man?
and I own it. I
Do
own the
you?
CD.
Oh my
Yes,
god.
and yes, I will be reviewing it on the podcast one day.
Oh my gosh, you have to.
Yeah, I have it right here. John Cena and the trademark "You Can't See Me." The John Cena title design is the cover of it. There's 17 songs on it, so yeah, that's definitely going to be our future review.
17 songs. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I do like the image of him just like rapping to the ring, like rapping at ringside while like Test and Rosie are fighting while Eddie Guerrero like back body drops Rob Van Dam. I don't know. For some reason, it just really made me laugh.
It was good, and he wasn't wearing those jean shorts back then. It was like proper jeans, which is so weird for me to see him like that.
Yeah, he would always be changing up his attire at this time. Like sometimes he would wear like khaki shorts, other times he would wear the jean shorts that we all know. Here he was wearing jeans. So he was definitely changing up his look all the time.
Yeah, it looked really different, but I think yeah, it worked. So, and I think his entrance worked for him, so it was really good.
Yeah, so number 19 is Charlie Haas from Team Angle.
Yeah, yeah, Charlie Haas, yeah, he was pretty good. But when Jeff Hardy was eliminated, oh, I think it was, yeah, Jeff Hardy got eliminated around this time, and he took a really, I thought, a nasty bump from outside where he got eliminated. He sort of landed like knees first and head first next to the barricade. So it looked
Yeah,
really
because
bad.
it seemed like he was trying to go for Whisper in the Wind, and RVD just pushes him off the turnbuckle.
Because you can't really, there's not much to do when you're in the air to kind of sort of save yourself because you're going to land and it's probably going to hurt.
Yeah. And I hate it when he would do that because it's like, dude, you are just asking to be eliminated when you go up to the turnbuckle.
That's why always in the Royal Rumble matches when they go to the top rope, you're just like, well, why would you do that? Because you can just get like pushed and then you're gone.
Yeah. So number 20 is Rikishi, and he and Rosie interact. It was pretty cool to see these two Anoa'i family members kind of interact together.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that and them working as a team at the start to try to eliminate all the other guys.
So number 21 is Jamal, and Rikishi stink faces Jamal.
Oh, oh my gosh. Yeah, I haven't seen Rikishi because obviously I wasn't watching around this time, but I know of his move, and it's quite. I mean, it's quite funny. But I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. It would be really bad.
Same. Same. That's one move I do not want to take, and that's the stink face.
Because I can't believe he's just such a big guy as well. And then, oh my god, could you imagine looking at that when it's like coming near you?
So number 22 is Cain, and number 23 is Shelton Benjamin.
Yeah, Jim Ross was pretty good here at selling Cain and Cain's entrance, and Cain got quite a bit of a pop here because Cain around this time, was he quite popular?
Yeah, he actually was. Even after the whole Katie Vick angle, he was still pretty popular.
Oh, that angle.
Yeah, I've already talked about that. Me and Angel talked about it on the No Mercy episode, and hopefully that'll be the only time I'll ever have to talk about it.
Hey, if you can recover from that and still be over with the crowd, then hey, you must be pretty good at what you do.
Yeah, totally. And I've always been a Cain fan.
And I liked how during this time there wasn't a moment of like nothing happening because you still had guys in that ring that you wanted to see win, or Y2J was in there, and there was a lot of guys in there that could go to the end. So it wasn't like there was this big blank space of guys who wasn't cared about. So I thought that really worked.
Yeah, so number 24 is Booker T, who ends up getting the spinneroonie, and HBK ends up coming back in the match and helps Jericho get eliminated.
Yes, I loved that when he went straight to Y2J and got him out, and then they were fighting on the outside the ring. So that made me want to see a Y2J versus HBK match after that.
Yep, and it ends up happening at WrestleMania 19.
Oh, very good.
And it was a great match.
I'll have to see that because from this feud, it looks like it could be a really good match because Y2J and HBK look like they would have really good chemistry in the ring. So I have to see that match.
Yeah, I recommend like WrestleMania 19 as a whole. Honestly, like that pay-per-view in general is just so great.
Yeah, so and I thought it was good here with them attacking each other because it adds another story to the Royal Rumble where you could go, I want to see this match now at Mania, and then you have whoever wins the Royal Rumble. So I think it's good that they did it here.
So number 25 is A-Train, and number 26 is Maven.
Yeah, they talked about Maven and Harry eliminated, was it the Undertaker in another Royal Rumble?
Yeah, he eliminated the Undertaker in the previous Royal Rumble, the previous year.
Oh my gosh, really? Oh, because he was a tough enough guy, I think they said.
Yeah, he was the first ever tough enough winner.
Oh wow, and to eliminate Undertaker in a previous one and then to come back for this one, that must be, you know, that they think pretty highly of you or they want to give you that big spot.
Yeah, like they really like put him over with that.
Yeah, and I think he did okay in the ring. What do you think about him?
I always thought he was pretty solid in the ring. I never thought he was like very great or anything, but for what he was, I thought he was pretty solid.
Yeah, he was okay.
So number 27 is Goldust. However, is eliminated almost immediately along with Booker T by Team Angle.
Yeah, he didn't last very long in the ring.
which really surprised me considering how popular he was at this time.
Yeah, because I heard the crowd reacting to him, and I thought he would be there for a little while longer.
And like JR even says like 3 men have won at number 27, and Goldust immediately gets eliminated.
Oh yes.
So number 28 is Batista.
Yes. What do you think of Batista around this time? Was he
At this time,
was he quite over?
I don't know if he was over just yet. He was on his way. I think at this time, I think he had a lot. He was very inexperienced. He wasn't the Batista that we all know today. He was still very green. He was still very new. He definitely had potential though, but at this point in time, he wasn't quite where he was going to be.
Because was this before Evolution was before, like formed, where he was there with Triple H and stuff?
Yeah, this was right before Evolution. In fact, the very next night after this on Raw, Evolution officially forms.
Okay, and because he looked like really new here, but I imagine Evolution like helped him a lot in that area.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, like Batista does end up getting that big push, but it isn't until a few years after this.
Yeah, because yeah, it must be after that because I looked at him back then and I liked his clotheslines though. Just to mention in this match, he did some really good clotheslines.
Yeah, I thought he looked a lot better in this match than he did in his match against Cain at Armageddon the previous month.
Oh yes.
So number 29 is Brock Lesnar, who eliminates Matt Hardy and Team Angle, and he ends up eliminating Matt Hardy by F5 and him onto Team Angle on the outside.
Oh, that looked like the two Angle team members were really good here because Matt Hardy's head was just like very close to kind of like hitting the floor, but both of them managed to get his neck and the rest of his body and sort of save him there.
Yeah.
Because I could imagine you like when you're being F5 like that, there's like you can't really see what's going on like behind you, so there's nowhere to really like save you. So I think those both team members there were really good at helping him with that.
Yeah, because when you have the F5, you're basically being spun around in the air.
I do think the F5s here look way better that Brock does them like back then. Like now they don't look as I don't know much of an impact. I want to say.
Yeah.
I think they look really good here though.
Yeah. I really like that spot.
Yeah, it was a good spot.
And finally, number 30, making his return for the first time since No Mercy, The Undertaker. And Taker's minions somewhere just cracked a smile.
I really, really love Biker Taker. Like I loved his thing where he was on the bike and he could go up to the ring. And his music was really good as well. I loved his music.
Yeah, I really liked Undertaker at this time with the motorcycle and all that.
And the crowd loved it.
Yeah, Undertaker was very over here.
And then I think like everyone after that started getting eliminated. Like John Cena went and like all those guys went because you have Taken out in the ring. And I think there was a good spot for him to return because sometimes number 30 can be the surprise type entrances of sometimes those big names coming in or those people coming back. So I think it was good that they saved Taker to number 30.
Yeah, like Undertaker does eliminate Cena, so there's your WrestleMania match.
Exactly. There it was right there. You missed it.
I mean, it took a few years, but it eventually did it.
Yeah, was this like their first like I don't know thing was John Cena Undertaker in this match, and then yeah, so we could have had the John Cena Undertaker main event for Mania back then.
They did in fact actually face off later that year at Vengeance.
Oh yes. How did that go?
From what I remember, it was an okay match.
Oh yeah.
And they also interacted when Cena made his debut. Like Undertaker was one of the first people to kind of congratulate him, and that gave Cena like such a rub, because Taker not only was he a heel at that time, he was the world champion, so it gave Cena really quite a rub.
Oh wow, that would have been really big for him during that time. Oh cool.
So the final four, it comes down to Taker, Cain, Batista, and Brock. And Cain ends up eliminating Rob Van Dam. And I love it. I just loved Kane's expression after he eliminates RVD with the shoulder shrug. It just looks so goofy.
I loved it. He was sort of like, meh, what you gonna do? I like Goofy Kane. It can work. It's worked.
Yeah, especially during this time, because this was during the time where Kane was a bit more relaxed, I guess, in his gimmick, because he was a bit more comedic. But he never lost his edge, I don't think. But he didn't have a problem really like doing comedy during this time.
Yeah, because it worked here with RVD. So yeah, I thought it was quite funny. I laughed.
So the final four are Taker, Kane, Batista, and Brock. Undertaker ends up eliminating Kane, and also as well as Batista. Batista tries to come back in and tries to use a chair on Taker. Taker reverses and throws Batista out of the ring, but Brock eliminates Taker to win the Royal Rumble match.
Yeah, and then it goes to Undertaker outside the ring, and he's smiling at Brock. So I wonder if that was sort of like a thing, like, oh yeah, I see what you did, good game, kid, and then that could hint at towards something. What do you think of that? Like at the end where he was smiling.
Yeah, that's definitely what they were doing. They were sort of like, yeah, you got me, you got me. And even after he gets eliminated, he does come back and congratulates Brock. So there's definitely like this show of respect there between the two.
And Batista with the chair coming in, so would that be like a Batista feud with Undertaker to be set up?
Um, it doesn't happen at this point in time. It happens way later in 2007. But at this time, since Batista and Taker were on separate brands, it unfortunately never happened.
Oh, I see. Because that would have been the perfect time because he cost Undertaker a main event spot at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it would have been interesting, but I don't think they ever really started a face off until 2007 at WrestleMania 23.
Oh yes. And what do you think of the choice of Brock winning the Royal Rumble?
Storyline wise, it makes all the sense in the world. I'm personally not a big Brock Lesnar fan, but I think from a storyline perspective, it's absolutely the right choice.
Agree with you there because there was story wise it makes sense because of what was happening with Paul and then what was happening with the Kurt thing and everything like that. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Brock either, but it does work in the story to have him win.
Yeah. So, what do you think of this match overall?
Overall, I thought it was a really fun Royal Rumble. Like everything was happening, and there wasn't a time where it was boring or didn't work. And there was a lot of other stories being told, such as Shawn and Chris Jericho, and the really fun things like Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy having the face off in the ring, and then you had the Brothers of Destruction, like for a moment, trying to get everyone out. And I thought Cain and RVD worked really well. So I thought it was really fun. I liked this Royal Rumble a lot better than other Royal Rumbles. I think it worked. What did you think overall?
Yeah, I love this Rumble match. I think this is probably one of my favorite Royal Rumble matches, if not my favorite. I really enjoyed this match.
Yeah, it worked, and then you had all these guys and them telling stories together. So it wasn't just like you're waiting until the end for something to be told.
Yeah, they were able to tell several good stories throughout.
And it's sort of thing that maybe these Royal Rumbles can kind of learn from past Royal Rumbles, is how to tell multiple stories in the match.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was really fun. And yeah, so Brock, who does he main event against for the WrestleMania? Does he
He
go
ends.
against Kurt?
Yeah, he ends up going up against Kurt Angle in the main event of WrestleMania 19.
And was that a fun match, or what do you think of? What did you think of that match? Is it a good match to look back to?
Honestly, I thought it was a terrible match. Honestly, I'm not a fan of that match. It's a very well liked match, but personally for me, I'm not a huge fan of it. But that was also a match where Kurt Angle was working hurt, and he ends up having to take a few months off after that to get neck surgery. So part of that is kind of why I'm not a fan of that match, because it's a very slow match. It's kind of a dull match in my opinion. But you know.
Because what I remember is people telling about like Brock Lesnar taking that move from the top rope, or was he trying like doing this top rope move and it didn't end up connecting or something or going well? That's all I really remember people talking about.
Yeah, because Brock tried to go for a shooting star press, and he ends up sort of missing it and lands like right on his head, and he ends up getting a concussion from that.
Ooh, because
And,
Brock's not a guy that takes a lot of high flying moves, is he?
no, he's not. And when he was in OVW, when he was in developmental, he did that move a lot. But when he was on the main roster, he rarely did that move. I think on the main roster, I think that was the only time he ever did that move. And you can tell, even after the match when he's celebrating when he's holding the title, you can tell that the lights are on, but no one's home.
Yeah, because I believe I saw something on YouTube or backstage of him going backstage and like holding his head, and he did not look happy at all. So I'd imagine like, I mean, he's also a sort of guy that doesn't need to do those big high flying moves because he is a powerhouse sort of guy. So I imagine after that he did not do it again.
No. Yeah, I don't think he ever did that move again.
Yeah, he's yeah, I don't mind him winning because I suppose like it fits the story, but there are other guys, in that match they also liked, but at the same time, they've given me like other stories to be told at WrestleMania, like Y2J and HBK, and I hope like other guys in that match got something at Mania, such as I know Matt Hardy. Did Matt Hardy get anything at Mania?
Yeah, he successfully defended the cruiserweight title against Rey Mysterio.
Oh, was that a good match?
Oh yeah, I really like that match.
Oh, that was good then. Any other parts of the match or even the whole pay per view that you like?
Yeah, I think the match overall was pretty good. I like John Cena's rapping to the ring. I liked Chris Jericho's overall performance in the ring. I liked the fact that they were starting to build towards Shawn and Jericho at WrestleMania. So that match definitely had some great moments when it came to kind of building stories moving forward.
Yeah, the HBK and Y2J stuff in the match was pretty interesting and good. And it makes it a lot more personal, like they added a personal touch to the story of Y2J costing HBK his spot, and then he comes back and cost Chris Jericho his spot. So I think that was a really good extra element to that story to get behind. As
Yes.
for the rest of the card, I don't know. I think they could have done more for the women. Like, was there anything for the women at WrestleMania during this time?
Yeah, there were two things that they did with the women at WrestleMania. There was a triple threat match with Jazz, Trish Stratus, and Victoria for the women's title, and Trish Stratus ended up winning the title.
Oh, yes. Was that match like something to go back to and watch? Like, was that good?
Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, because I imagine like Trish Stratus, like those big names at the time would be really good to go back and see their matches. It's just a pity that they had that sort of a story at this Royal Rumble for the women when they could have done something like that they did at Mania for this pay per view.
Yeah, like instead we got Dawn Marie and Torrie Wilson.
Yeah, a very weird sort of like story that you just like go, okay. Because you wouldn't see them doing that with the men, but I guess it's fine back then for the women that they could do that with, even though it just turned out to be really weird.
Yeah, so overall, in terms of the entire pay per view, how'd you feel about this and entire pay per view as a whole?
Overall, I really enjoyed this pay per view as a whole, and I really liked the Kurt Angle and Chris match, and I really liked the story was that we're telling with Scott Steiner and Triple H and the referee, and I also liked the tag match with the Dudley Boyz and Regal and Storm, and I liked the Royal Rumble itself. So overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good pay per view for the most part. I think the Royal Rumble match itself and Angle and Benoit it alone is worth it. I thought also that the tag team match was good as well. There were a few matches on there that were really clunkers. I thought Steiner Triple H in particular, as well as Dawn and Torrie and Brock and Big Show wasn't that good as well. But I thought the tag team match, Royal Rumble match, and the WWE title match, I thought were three great matches. So, yeah, overall, I did like this pay per view. I thought it was much better than Armageddon the previous month. So, overall, Royal Rumble 2003, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good pay per view overall, and as someone who hasn't seen the Royal Rumble 2003 pay per view, I think it was really good, and I liked it.
Sounds good. So, I think that just about does it for this episode. Where can they find you at, Faceboss?
So I'm on Twitter at Stacey Faceboss, and sometimes I go on Cage Side, and I really like the Nightly. So you can find me also on there, and we can talk about wrestling.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at MetalMatt15, and I also hang out on the nightly and daily on Cage Side Seats as well, and as well as this show, which will be new at its usual time next week. There are also some other podcasts that you should check out: Shooting the Breeze with Taker's Minion and Mr. Dr. Sinju, every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. Next Saturday, they are actually celebrating their 1 year anniversary. So definitely be sure to tune in for that. There's going to be a ton of guests on there, maybe even one guest you might know.
I'll try to be on there, guys, but with time zones and stuff, I'll see if I can make that work and try to be on that podcast. But definitely check out Shooting the Breeze because they talk about some good wrestling and pay per views on there as well.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. Also, Two Guys One Sport with Chris Colgan and George. Every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Also, Connoisseurs of Wrestling with Taker's Minion, Legends Lover, and Biff Kensington, as well every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. What else is there? Is there another podcast I should be advertising? I think that might be it, maybe. Apologies if I forgot anything. So I think that's it. Next week will be another brand new episode of the show. And next week, we are going to be covering No Way Out 2003. And my guest is going to be Adam Rice from Cage Side Seas as well. So that'll be fun. So next week is No Way Out 2003 with Adam Rice. So be sure to tune in for that. Going to be the return of a lot of big stars. Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock. A lot of people are going to be returning. So it should be an interesting pay per view for sure. So that's all. So anything else to add?
No, you covered it all pretty well. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thanks for being on. I really appreciate it. So that is all for this episode of Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. Next week is No Way Out 2003. But for now, I will see you next time. See ya.
See ya.